Thank you guys for joining us this morning. I'm going to take you through the app. Forgive me how I sound. I'm recovering from a bit of a flu. But feel free at the end to please ask any questions that you might have. And I'll take you through some of our main features. I'm going to start with some of the setup that you need to do before you can upload your clients via the Excel template, which you can get from the website when you subscribe. But first things, under the setup section, under the accountants table, you will add all of your users, your staff members that will be using the app. You will invite them in the accountants table and assign the level of access that they require. Now, you do that by clicking on Add Record. If you expand a window by clicking on the arrow there, you can type their name. You're welcome to use full names or first names, that's up to you. Complete their email address, and then you need to assign a role to them. If you assign admin, we recommend one person in the app is admin. And the reason for that is that an admin can delete a client record. And so if more than one person is an admin role, it just adds more risk. So that's why we say we recommend one person, but then we have the partner role, which has all the same access as the admin role, other than the fact that they cannot delete a client record. We then have the bookkeeper or accountant role. This person is sort of your all-rounder, higher level manager, that kind of thing. The person who will be able to complete most of the tasks in the app and might be responsible for overseeing other people in different departments. Then we have the assistant role. This user will not count towards your user license fee. It is a free of charge role for somebody like a personal assistant or receptionist who might assist you in maintaining client records or performing admin tasks. So they will be able to access the client section and then the ad hoc tasks department. And then we have a custom role, which is now for staff members who perform more specific roles within the firm, and not necessarily every task. So if you have specifically people who only focus on accounting or only focus on payroll or both, for example, so you can assign multiple departments, and this is going to tailor make each user's experience inside the app, because it's going to minimize what they do not need to be responsible for. They will then not be able to see those departments. So you can tailor make their user access in that way. And then the filter on own data here, if you have staff members who only focus on clients assigned to them, they're responsible for them whether they go on leave or not, for example, then you will select filter on own data, and when they access any table, they will only see clients and tasks assigned to them. However, if you do have a team where if someone is on leave or is ill and another team member then picks up the slack and does their tasks for them as well, then we recommend leaving the filter off so that they can then see each other's tasks and work on them and time on them if needed. And then in any table, they can just filter on their own names, which I will show you. Okay. When you click save, your staff will then receive an email inviting them to the app and they can begin working. Okay. Then a little bit below in the setup is firm settings. click on the record that says My Firm, and please complete your company information here. You can store practitioner details as well for quick reference. And then the time rounding is important. Data Grows has a real-time stop-start timekeeping function, and there is a report and a time log table that you can access that shows you time worked as it has been worked. And we also have a rounded column if you tend, or if your practice is to round the time that you bill clients. So if it is, just select from the options available, and then the actual table gives you a actual time worked as well as a rounded time, so that you don't have to do that. And then the information a bit lower down is for our future integrations that we are currently working on, which will include integration into Sage 1 and 0. And then later on, we are going to begin our testing with SARS to connect for provisional tax returns to begin with. And so we'll explain how to retrieve this information at a later stage. So complete what you can there. And then another important setup, if you're going to use the time log function, which I highly recommend, and the reports that go with it to actually do your billing. So I get a lot of questions from people who bill fixed rates or retainers more than they do hourly ad hoc work. And I would still say use the timer for every task that your staff do, because very often you quote a retainer, on the first meeting with a client before work's even begun. And then it's very difficult to revise that to know what's fair between you and the client for the time that's being worked. So even if you bill fixed fees, make use of the timer so that you can review those fees with accurate information. Now, depending on how you bill your clients, you need to create what we have called rate groups. And this is a way of assigning a specific client to a fee that you might charge them. Now, if you charge everyone a standard hourly fee or monthly fee, then obviously you'd have one rate group. But you can see by the example here that there are various rate groups in our test company, and this list will be in your app as well. You are welcome to edit them and delete them if you need to, but create this table as it makes sense for your billing. And the reason for that is then when time is worked, the report knows exactly that client for that task, how to apply the billing. So here you'll see we've got standard, we've got some retainers, we've got no charge even, and discounted. So again, as it applies to you. And then once you've created the rate groups in the rates table, you will also see in your app an example like this rolled out. And again, you can tailor this to your firm. So this is populated like this just to show you what it could possibly look like. But basically, for every task that we allow you to time for, you need to be able to tell us how you invoice it. So accounting is an easy one. You could have an hourly rate. As I said, you could have a fixed rate. But depending on how you invoice for that particular task, you need to create a task or a record for it in the rates table, give it a value, assign a rate type, specify whether or not it is billable, and then link it to the rate group that you created. And then, so in the client table that you're going to import your client's list, you will assign the applicable rate group to them. And then the system knows when time is worked, how to multiply that time depending on the rate group that you selected. Okay. All right. So that's the first couple of things that you need to set up. In the Excel spreadsheet, the accountants that you've created and the rate groups that you've created are obviously unique to your firm. In the tips and formats section of the Excel that you will download, you will notice two orangey colored columns here. These you need to add either the rate groups or the accountants that you've invited to your app. If you create them here in this tips and formats section, they will become drop downs for selection where you actually complete your client information. So the whole spreadsheet is full of drop downs to make it easier for you to compile your data in a way that it will import into data grids. Okay. But the main thing is that the ones that you custom create, you need to just add them into these two columns so that you can then select them in the drop downs. Okay. So this is just some dummy data that we've compiled just to show you what the spreadsheet looks like. As I said, there are a bunch of drop downs where you can select from. For example, year ends, and then the tasks further right. The registration date, please make sure that it is a date format that you are importing, and the date format that is accepted by Data Grows is day, month, year. Okay, so just make sure that that is completed. And it's important to know that these two fields are going to schedule tasks, because the registration date, for example, is what the CIPC annual return is triggered by. And then the year end, you will know that your tax deadlines or provisional tax deadlines are dependent on the year end of a company. So it is important that you complete those fields when you upload. You can then complete contact information, statutory registration numbers, and then here you will see the same color coding for the staff members and the roles that you might have assigned them under. Now, the accountant is the equivalent of the bookkeeper role or the main person responsible for the account. So if you have somebody who literally handles the A to Z of a client, you will assign them under the accountant column. And then if you have, let's say David does A to W of the clients and Sue does the payroll specifically, then you can customize that Sue gets assigned to the payroll and David to everything else. So you can really tailor every single client how the tasks are assigned depending on the setup of your firm. Okay. You can assign a partner to clients as well as a manager. And this is more of an overseeing than a doing role. And as I said, then you can customize the various tasks and departments that we have on the left here. These are going to be assigned to the people that you specify. Okay. And this is the reason why the names that you add in the accountant table have to agree to the Excel, because this is part of the import check. When you upload your file, if you've made a spelling mistake or if you've typed in a full name instead of just the first name, for example, it will actually tell you that Sue on Y14 does not exist in the system, and then you can open the Excel file, fix it, and import again. Okay. Then we have our various tasks that we schedule, and you will see a couple of drop downs here as well. Excuse me. Starting with accounting, you have a few options to select from there, and then the accounting start month is important where it's not a monthly client, so that we know what cycle to begin the 6-month task, the annual task, the quarterly task, for example. So Typically, this would be the first month of your financial year, so that the correct number of cycles then schedule for you. You can also customize the due date of that accounting task. There are various drop downs to select from there. If you leave this blank, we will default to the 15th of the month. Okay. Then we schedule for VAT returns. If you select true for VAT returns, please specify the VAT type that the client is registered for with SARS, because that is going to determine the due date of their VAT return, as you will know. We schedule for monthly payroll, and you can customize the due date there. We schedule for weekly and bi-weekly payroll as well. EMP 201 and 501 returns, income tax, provisional tax, and turnover tax, UIF, and workman's compensation. You can make a note of the financials in terms of the last year that has been completed, whether or not you've saved documents on your side, and whether or not you complete the annual return for them. You can also make note of the accounting program that that client uses as an internal reminder, and also specify whether or not management reports need to be done. This is going to reflect on the accounting task, on the accounting task to remind you every month that this client requires monthly management reports. Okay. The bank statement column is actually a really nice feature that we've developed. You will have the option of bank feed request statements or self-download. If the selection is request statement, we have written a process in DataGrows that allows you to email clients who have to send you bank statements for their accounting, and the email is then auto-written, sent to the client. It copies the accountant who is assigned to the task, and then the client can click reply and it will reply directly to their accountant. So the email looks like this. It will come from DataGrows, but it will respond as the accountant responsible for them. And if they click reply, they can then send the bank statements to that client. Okay, so it's a really nice feature. I will show you where to use it and apply it. And then you can store and upload various other information for your clients. Okay. In terms of the Excel spreadsheets, I know it's a lot. We're sitting at 66 columns. Not all of them are critical to use the app. We do have about a 15, 16 column quick upload that you are welcome to use if you would prefer, just to be able to import your data and get a feel for the app. But we also do assist clients with uploading their data from other systems and other lists. So don't hesitate to ask us if you'd like us to help you import your data. Okay. Another thing to note is this is an Excel SX file, and the reason for that is so that things like your cell phone number do not drop the 0 like it would in a CSV file. Okay, so make sure you save it as an Excel SX file, and once you are ready to upload, you will come to the app, and then under setup is the data upload function. Click on add record, click on save and edit, and you will see the documents tab open at the top. If you click there and click on the plus, you will then upload your file, click save, come back to details and click save. It takes about 30 seconds to a minute to just process your data. So you can just click on the table again to refresh it, and you'll know that it's uploaded where there's a date and time completed here, and the status changes to processed. If there are any errors in your data, we have protected the drop downs from being changed, but things like the accountant name, as I said, if there's anything wrong, it will tell you in the notes exactly which cell in the Excel needs fixing. Okay. So here you can see it is processed and it's uploaded 42 clients. Now, just make sure that you know the row count of your clients. You can go and open the Excel again, make sure that the correct number of clients did import. And then if you come to the clients table, it will immediately have populated, and just double check that the total at the bottom right there of the number of records is the same as your Excel file. Okay. Now, another thing to note is when that data upload processes, all of the tasks that I've scheduled for the clients, all the ticks, okay, immediately schedule the latest task in every table. So it's an instant schedule. You will immediately see tasks for your clients and you can begin working. So the hardest part is getting the Excel uploaded. But once that's done, you don't have to do any further setup because the tasks schedule immediately. Okay. So on the clients table, you will see the information that I've now uploaded. You can edit a record anytime by clicking on it, and you will see that it opens up. And again, if you expand the window, I find it's just a much more user-friendly layout to work with. And then you can edit it like that. Okay. A really nice feature that we have is you can actually share this record with your clients, and the link will then be valid for 72 hours for them to update their own information. They can save it in real time. They can only access their record and they can maintain their own stuff. So I'll show you how to do that. If you click on the record, before you expand it, you'll notice a little blue share button there. And if you click on it, you can then copy the link, and then that is what you will send to your clients. And you'll see when I open it, I cannot navigate away from the window to then access DataGrow's or anybody else's records. But you could, for example, ask this company, complete your information for me. You could even use it as a accepting of services like an engagement, and say, what is it that you need from us, so that you can then prepare a quote. So you can do it that way as well, and then click save. And because it only lasts 72 hours, the access to this, they can't after the fact open the link and then make further changes. Okay, so you're welcome to use that. And then the other thing that we have, oh, that got stuck, is for every client at the very end of the table is a summary report. If you click on that, it's going to show you the information for the client as well as any tasks that need to be completed with the detail thereof. And you can then see that for any client that you need to. Okay. Okay. Let me start with the dashboard, and then I'm going to show you some of the key features that we have. So the all tasks due dashboard is a view of every single accountant with every task that we schedule for, okay, with the corresponding due dates. And you will see them color-coded, red meaning that the deadline has passed, yellow being that the deadline will be in the next 7 days, and then white is into the future there. And you can see various accountants listed. You can navigate to the tasks and it will filter on that screen for that staff member. Okay. And here you can see these compensation funds have not been completed yet and then can be discussed with David. Okay. The reason why it's showing 3 and 1 there is because there are 2 separate managers on that accountant. Okay. You can filter on any column in the tables, any table, depending on what you want to look at. You can also sort. If you go to the 3 little dots next to the names and click filter, you can then focus, for example, on the dashboard on one particular staff member and see all of the tasks they have assigned to them. Okay. And they can do this for themselves, but it's also a really useful management tool. And then just a thing to note, on any filter, on any table, the filter icon here at the top means that you have an active filter. If you leave the table and return, the filter stays active. So what I like about that is while I'm focusing on something and then go and check something in another table, when I come back, I don't have to redo the same filter to check it again. But it will mean that you just need to be aware of the icon. And if you want to see the whole table, that you just clear the filter. Okay. This all tasks due is also available as a report. If you come to the report section, you will see the report, your to-do list. And this gets emailed once a week as well as an Excel file and looks like this. And again, is a really useful management tool to plan time, to plan leave, because you can immediately see any tasks assigned to each and every person. Okay. All right. A great feature that we have is the My Chats feature. And this is an internal communication tool that you can use to request help, to request feedback on any particular task. When you begin a chat, you will see in any table is a blue speech bubble. Click on it. You can begin typing. And you can at somebody, in other words, address the chat to that particular person by clicking on the at on your keyboard. And you will see that when I did that, the list of accountants in my database comes up, and you can then begin the chat with someone. Click send. And then Michelle will have a chat with an unread message count on her side that she can then address and respond to. Okay, so when you read a message, this will then default to 0, and then you can clear your chats by saying completed, and then you know that you've addressed the conversation. You can begin again by simply clicking on a speech bubble and chatting again. So it doesn't get deleted, it just gets cleared from your My Chats. Okay. All right. In the clients table, we have a couple of features that are going to help you from a statutory records point of view. So mainly for CIPC registered entities. And so if we look at something like a PTY Limited, if you open it, you will see at the top a Directors tab and a Share Register tab. Now, if you click Directors, you will be able to list, if it's more than the 3 that we mentioned in the clients table specifically, you can list the directors here and you add them by clicking on add record. The company will populate up at the top as the client. And then if the director is also a client listed in your table, you can select them. And when you click save, things like their ID number, cell number, email, and address should populate. Not sure about address, but up until there will populate. And then you don't have to repeat the same information again. However, if they are not an existing client, you can then just type their information here. Okay. Okay, so whatever information is populated for the existing client will then pull through. And you can add as many directors here as the company has registered. And then we have the share register. Here you will be able to generate a share register for your clients. If you click add record, again, the company will automatically populate. You can then add the shareholder information, the date that they received their shares, the number of shares. And if you click save, the certificate number will automatically populate, as well as their percentage shareholding. Now, if you add additional shareholders, and click save, a new certificate number will be populated and the shareholding percentage changes for both shareholders. Okay. You will see you can view and download a certificate. Okay, so it looks like that. You can save it and then have it signed. Okay, so that looks like that, already populated within a couple of seconds. Okay, should a shareholder give up their shares, save the date seeded. Okay, their shareholding percentage will change, and so will the current shareholders. And if you now view their certificate, it will show as cancelled. Okay, so it's a really quick and easy way to generate share certificates, and then you already have a share register. If you need to download the share register, there is a little bit of a snag in the sub tab of the table, but you are able to access all your clients as a sort of global share register, and you can then filter on their name and then download the table if you need to. We will work on that little snag there. Okay, that's a really nice way to do it. Under reports are various reports that you can view. We have the data audit, which is going to show you conflicting tasks or conflicting data. So here you can see we have an accountant called Sue, who has a task and a client allocated to her, but she does not have any rights in the system. In other words, I've invited her as a user, but I haven't given her any role. She will not be able to access the tables. Okay. And then for a client, you will see that we've selected turnover tax and income tax and provisional tax for this particular person. And you will know that when you register for turnover tax, you don't have to submit income tax and provisional tax. So we're just helping you catch that you've had tasks scheduled that don't need to be. Okay. Then we have the to-do list, which I've shown you. The time to invoice report, I will show you in another database where we've actually logged some time. And I'll show you the timekeeping function. And then we have the firm summary report. This shows you active clients, their entity types as well as the rate groups that they belong to, so that you can see kind of the spread of your company in terms of revenue earners as well as planning staff members for the various departments. So there's just a couple of visuals on that. And I find it's useful when you're employing someone, let's say, for example, as a tax specialist, but the majority of your clients are payroll clients, for example, or small earners. You can then negotiate the salaries and the roles a lot better. Okay, and then we have the VAT returns. This is just a summary of the VAT return table, where the due date has or the due date is coming up. So here you will see the period for August monthly due the 30th of September, and then the even vendors that are coming up. So this is basically to say it is the 28th of September, no work has been done, so people got to get a move on, you know. But we've actually created a process that will email each individual account reminding them of the tasks that they need to complete. So it's kind of a, you know, are you sure you haven't paid this VAT yet? Make sure that you do. Okay. The organization skills matrix is a bit of a personal report. I haven't actually explained it to my staff yet, but basically, if you complete this table correctly, I'll show you where it is. You will be able to identify the skills that your staff are able to complete, would like to complete, and can train others on. So I actually don't know if this, oh, it is, okay. So here's the table. And basically what it is it really is an internal discussion, and it should be a team discussion. Basically, each staff member is available for selection here. And you are going to, for every department that we have here, going to rate yourself. And then it's a good team discussion to maybe say, but Mariska's saying she's done some accounting, and then a team member will say, no, actually you can do about 50% of it. So it's a good team experience, as I said. But basically, if you say you've done some, you're indicating that you maybe want to increase your knowledge in a particular department. And it's a good way to build skills, to build cover for one another. And as you populate records here, the report is going to show them as little lines. So I've done 50% is half a block. I've done some is one line. And the goal is to get everyone to a closed box so that they can then train other staff members. So if you've closed your box, you are then the person to go to if somebody else wants to learn in that department. Okay. We will do a blog post on that as well. I think it's a really useful tool. Okay. All right. Now to the tasks that we schedule. There are a couple of manual tables that you will find empty. And the reason for that is they really are ad hoc, once off, every now and then tasks that we won't know when you need them done. And so you will create the task by clicking on add record, and then you can select from the drop down. So the firm and ad hoc tasks, we have various admin tasks to select from, including leave if you need to, etc. And so you will then select it. You can assign it to a client if it's applicable. You can give it a status in progress, assign it to staff, make notes, give a due date, etc. And now that the task is in the table, if I open it again, you will see that the timer function has gone from gray to blue. And now I can actually work on the task and time for it, so that billing reports will be generated. Okay. If I have completed the task, click stop. If you change the status of any task from either blank or in progress or not started, if you change it to completed and you click save, it's going to remove it from the current table and it will appear in the archive tab. So it doesn't get deleted, it just gets archived. So you can always at any time see the history of tasks worked, but at least your current to-do list gets shorter and shorter. If you accidentally change the status to completed and you weren't done, change the status to anything else and it will pop back to the current table. Okay. We then have the specialized tasks table, which you'll see looks like no other table. And the reason for that is we have so many tables that we schedule for, but a lot of users wanted to be able to really give sort of step-by-step or unique task names to certain processes that they perform for certain clients. And so we've given you the option of creating specialized tasks that you name it, whatever it needs to be, so that you know what to do. You can assign it to the client, and then you can also specify the frequency in which it schedules. So if it's something, let's say, that's more frequent than monthly even, we have weekly, we've got daily ways of scheduling the tasks so that you can be reminded of whatever you need to be reminded of. So excuse me, I say to my staff, anything that's unique to a client, whether it's they have a current account, a credit card, and a call account, and they keep forgetting to, let's say, reconcile the call account, then that should be a specialized task for that client so that they don't forget when they're doing the monthly accounting. You could, for example, have to email statements on behalf of your clients, pay their staff salaries, pay your staff salaries, pay suppliers, whatever you need to do that is unique to this client. You can name the task whatever you need to. You can give more detailed descriptions over here, assign it to the client, and then, like I said, schedule it with a custom due date. So if you need to do this every Friday, I would say schedule it every Thursday, due dates every Friday, give it a department so that you know when you click time, when you click on the timer, so that the system knows which rate group to apply to this very unique task. You can then assign it either to yourself or to a staff member and have a partner and manager oversee it. And if you click save and new, it will now be in the scheduler, and also a task will appear in the specialized tasks table. So this can now be made notes on, and it can be timed on as it is being completed, and it can also be archived. Okay. So you can create any task that we don't specifically schedule for. You can schedule it yourself, and then next Thursday, the same task is going to pop up here on its own. I only had to set it up once. Okay. All right, then we have the accounting table. Now, this is going to populate according to the accounting type, the first period that you specified, and the due date that you specified. And here you will see the bank statement reminder that I mentioned. So not only are you reminded here, but you are welcome to use the automated email that I showed you. So let's say, for example, for BDC, we'll use the process, and this client contact for this company will get an email requesting that they send the bank statements for the period ending 31 August, and it will respond as Jane, the accountant. So it will end the email off as that. And you use the process under setup. is the process table, and you will see a few here, but specifically the please send bank statements. You can run the process manually anytime by changing the action to process and clicking save, or you can schedule it so that the system will actually email the clients every month automatic. So if you say schedule for the first of the month and click save, then all the clients in the accounting table where their bank statements say request statement will receive an email for the month that has passed. So even if that process had to run now, it will not ask them for September bank statements until September has ended. Okay, so we're not going to ask them for a statement that's not necessarily yet ready for download. Okay, and then it's important to note that if you're going to use the process throughout the month, then when you do receive the statement, click that the statement has been received so that that client doesn't get a second email when they've in fact already emailed their statement to you. Okay, and then you can track through the basics of accounting and again be reminded whether or not they need monthly management reports. Okay. We then have the VAT returns. So this is the report that I showed you. This is the live table of that, and it can be tracked through. And so headed towards the end of the month here, as I said to you, none of these staff have done anything, which would obviously be cause for concern. But if they have in fact submitted their VAT and it's been marked as paid or it's been archived, they will not be emailed if you had to use that process. So let's say, for example, you want to schedule that process, you'll use the email VAT returns, and again, schedule it, let's say the last working day of the month, which would be the very, very last day to make sure that all your VATs are done. Okay, if you click save, then all your staff assigned a VAT return who have not archived, not marked them as paid, are going to be then sent an email saying, listen, you need to make sure that this is done. Okay. All right. Then we have CIPC. We have the CIPC annual returns. You're going to see that the tasks are scheduled quite a bit in advance. And the reason for that is a lot of our clients prefer to invoice for the annual return long before you actually need to pay CIPC. From experience, I know it's a difficult fee to recover, but you can track through that, make note of the turnover, the annual return fee that you had to pay. Okay, and then the registration numbers do pull through. Ours are just blank because of Poppy, but they do pull through to the table. So everything you need to complete this task is available in the table. Then we come to another manual table, which is the CIPC tasks. And so these include things like changing accounting officer, company details, name changes, registrations and deregistrations, and director changes. So you will select the task as it applies to the client, assign it to the client. You can give it a status, assign it to a staff member, partner, etc. And then click save and edit. And then the applicable subtasks are going to be available for every CIPC and SARS task that we cater for, with the list of documents that you need to complete that particular task. So here you can see for director detail change, the list of documents needed. And then we've also given you some templates that you're welcome to use. Click on the little arrow there, and the Word or PDF, depending on what it is, will be available to download and quickly complete. Okay, so you'll see quite a few templates. If there's any that you'd like or that you can think of, you're welcome to send it to us and we will upload it, or send us what you think it should contain and we'll make sure that it contains the correct information so that you don't have to redo the task over and over again. Okay. The great feature about this, in the details section, once you've lodged this on CIPC, so you've created the transaction and, for example, you've received the COR 39 that your client needs to sign, save the dates that you did that, okay? Because an automatic due date of 10 working days is going to populate so that you know exactly by when you've got to get everything together and email CIPC so that you don't have to do it again. So we know 10 days to respond, and from tomorrow, this day counter is going to count so that you know exactly by when the client has to send everything so that you don't have to redo the whole process again. Okay. Similarly, under the tax section is the SARS tasks table. And again, quite a few here, over 20 tasks to choose from. Everybody's favorite, the update public officer. Select the same information as you need to, but you will see that the subtasks are available with exactly what you need to complete these horrible tasks without having to redo them. We've also included templates and SARS forms where available, like the proof of address form, for example. I've given you the letter that they will need to take the selfie with. So you can really complete this in no time at all. And then we've also given you the upload link that you're welcome to use rather than making the appointment. You can use this online feature that SARS has and upload your documents and then submit them. Okay. Now, in terms of the uploaded dates here, this will be when you've now submitted to SARS, whether it's via online link, via e-filing. When you save a date here, the applicable SARS turnaround time is going to calculate in working days to when you can follow up or escalate. So for us, I would say the two most important ones for any client would be a VAT refund or income tax refund. And so we calculate the due dates for when you are able to escalate with SARS, for example, 21 working days, and the day counter is also going to automatically count for you in working days so that you know how much time has passed since you've sent SARS the stuff, and you can then escalate accordingly. So you don't need to count on your calendar anymore. You can also make notes of any appointment dates if you needed one, as well as your case number. Okay, so it's really a nice way. I use it a lot, as I said, for VAT returns, but there are plenty to choose from here. And again, if there's any that we've not listed, please let us know and we'll make sure that the applicable subtasks are created for you. Okay. Then we schedule financials and income tax here, specifically for CIPC registered entities that by law should prepare financials or submit an income tax return. Okay. And so you're going to see the very next due date for any particular client where you switched on income tax and their entity type is CIPC registered. But you are welcome to add any backlog, so any years that have not been completed yet, or financials for a sole proprietor or even individual if they need them. You can add records to the table at any time should you need them. And then you can track through quite an extensive process of preparing financials all the way up to the income tax return, and anything in between. You can specify the engagement type, the PI score, as well as the progress of the financials. So you'll see here, you can then track immediately where any financials are in terms of the approval process. Okay, we have also laid it out in a way that's quite easy to understand. So you can work through that quite easily. You can also time on these records, on any record. And then for bigger engagements like an audit, where you might need a team of staff members to be assigned to it, if you click on any record for financials and go to the financials team tab, you can add your staff here and know at any point who has been assigned to a particular audit. Okay. We then have the various payroll functions, so compensation fund, the monthly EMP 201, the biannuals coming up end of October. You'll see they've automatically populated already. You can track through that. The payroll, depending on the cycles that you've set up for the clients, depending on what they need, you can track through that. UIF, one thing I didn't mention in the Excel walkthrough is this column is particularly where you will use the U-filing website, not necessarily electronic declarations directly from your payroll program. So these would be smaller companies not registered for pay-as-you-earn yet, or domestic employers who need to then declare directly on U-filing. So you're welcome to use that. And then under tax, we've got income tax individuals. I'm sure you've all worked very hard to already submit the majority of your clients. Just another thing to note that when you do your initial upload, the system is going to generate a task with the closest due date. So let's say, for example, we're already in September, you've probably declared 90% of your individual's income tax already. You do not need to go and tick through every single tick box that we've given. And you also don't have to go one by one and archive them. If you find that a lot of the tasks on your initial upload have already been done, you just simply on any table can select as many as you need to. Under the select action is a mark complete. And if you run that, it's going to in bulk archive those tasks. Okay. We have provisional tax returns. And again, this is going to schedule according to the closest due date. So these two companies have a very random year end of September with their provisional tax returns due by Friday. And you can then track through that. As I mentioned, we're very excited to connect to e-filing for this particular tax type. They do have a very strict testing process and everything to make sure that it's obviously safe for you guys, safe for the taxpayers and everything. But we are getting close to testing with them. And you'll be able to, from Data Grows, submit directly to e-filing the provisional tax returns. My favorite part about it, once it goes live, I'll demo it, but you'll actually be able to calculate your individual tax in real time in the app. So you don't have to keep a separate Excel calculation updating the tax tables, etc. We do that for you. And so even before you reach e-filing, you can calculate the individual income tax for a person and send it through to them. Okay. Excuse me. Then we've got the turnover tax, as I mentioned, specifically that you would not submit normal income tax, provisional tax, and turnover tax. So here we schedule everything. If someone is registered for turnover tax, you will see all three submission dates pop up with the applicable due dates that they might have that you would then be able to track through. You can make notes of your appointment date here, and it will show up in the all tasks due so that you don't miss that appointment. And then the various schedules that need to be prepared with that. Okay. The time log. So I've shown you a couple of stop starts. When you push start on a timer, it automatically and immediately appears in the time log table. So no more weekly capturing of timesheets, waiting for timesheets to be completed before billing can be done, because it's all done in real time. And I recommend a weekly review of this so that you make sure nothing's been excessively timed, or somebody's forgotten to push stop, for example, because you can immediately pick it up. So here you can see these were very short durations that I timed, but it's already rounded it to an hour. So just be careful of very short durations as well. In terms of fairness to your clients, a full hour was not worked there. Okay. You can amend any record that you need to. So as I said, you do need to push stop. The timer, when it's timing, will not stop, will not lose time. Even if your internet goes down, you lose power, you can log out, you can get timed out of data grows, the timer will not stop. So we protect you there, that you'll never lose any time worked. But the flip side is you do have to remember to push stop. So that's why we recommend regular reviews of this table. And should you notice an error, you simply click on it and you can edit the end time as you need to and correct it. Okay, so your staff are going to see the time log table. They can review themselves as well. You can, as I've shown you, filter on any column and make corrections as you need to. You as the admin are going to see the time authorized table as well. It is a duplicate of the time log, but here is where you're going to approve time. So on a monthly basis, when you're now ready to do your billing, you have the option of selecting time that you are now ready to view in a report as ready for invoicing by selecting them. And then you will see the option mark invoice pending, mark internal, or mark as already invoiced. Now, if you mark it as invoice pending and click run, it takes it from the time authorized table to the time invoice pending table. And this is basically what you're going to now bill for the month. And there's a report which I will show you that summarizes it for every client, for every task. Okay. If, however, this time that was worked, you've already invoiced this person, you can then mark it as invoiced, and it won't be double invoiced then. It will immediately be archived. Okay. So you have full control over the time that you bill. And as I said, even if you're using fixed fees for all your clients, you don't time for any ad hoc time that's worked, still use the timer so that you can see, is your retainer enough? Okay. All right. Okay, the services not used dashboard. This is the converse of the client's table, depending on the entity type of that client. Where a tick is indicated, we are actually showing you that for this entity type, you have not switched on the CIPC annual return or the provisional tax for this client. So we're basically showing you that we know it is a PTY limited, so it should have annual returns declared for it. And then either you've mistakenly not switched it on, so it hasn't been scheduled, or you could potentially offer it to your clients as a service. So you can either correct your client table or increase the scope of work that you need to do for them. So you'll see you can navigate directly to the client table by clicking on their name. And if it was an error, I would then switch on the CIPC and provisional tax tasks. So now they will schedule and remind me. And if I come back to the services not used, that client is no longer on the table. Okay, so it's just a catch-all for your client's table. Are you providing the necessary services? Could you extend your scope, or is your table maybe not set up correctly? Okay, then I've said a whole mouthful today, but we've got everything that I've mentioned is available as a blog post specific to that feature. You can find them by clicking on the resources tab. You will see the share register, how-tos on basically everything that I've shown you. You can find a short post on how to do that over here. Plenty of resources, and you can also at any time click on the help icon in your app, send us an email, and our support team is the best. They will respond that day, if not the very next day, to assist you with any queries that you may have. Okay. All right, are there any questions at this stage?
We did have a question in the chat. One of the attendees says, I'm outsourcing my financial statements. Can I use the specialized task tab to email the AGA to schedule this? She's not part of the firm.
Yes, so you can create any reminder that you need to in the specialized tasks to request someone, but you can also, I mean, if this person does exclusively your financials for you, I would recommend work it into her fee, add her to your app, and then you restrict her access to the app. So it is a possibility. And then just to answer your second question, the repeat request bank statement function. So the process is really easy to use. If you, in the setup section, the process table, you will see there is a please send bank statements process. And if you change the action to process and click save, it will email all of the clients in the accounting table where their bank statements are set to request. It will email them requesting the bank statements for the previous month. Okay, and you can schedule it. I would say the first of the month makes the most sense, that they get an email requesting the bank statements for the previous month. Okay, and then is there a summary report that one can view to see what was done for that customer in a specific month? So there is a summary report per client, but if the work has already been completed, then it will not reflect on that. The whole point of the timekeeping function is so that you can see what's been worked on a client. So I must actually just show you what a good report like that looks like. But in terms of work not yet done for a client but scheduled, if you look in your client table at the very end is a summary report. And if you click on that, you will see all of the tasks that are scheduled for them with the due dates applicable. Okay. Just to show you in another DB what the report looks like where time has been worked, the time to invoice report. If you click on it, you can specify a date range as well as the status of the time, like I said, invoiced, invoice pending, etc. So if you say select all, it's going to show you per client the task, the status of that time. So if a rate group is missing or not, and then the value of the time that has been worked. So you can then scroll through that. You can download this to Excel. But here you can clearly see every single client that has been worked over the last 2 months, 2 or 3 months, and then again per accountant as well. We give you a summary per accountant too. Okay, are there any other questions? You're welcome to unmute if you like.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
I'm just wondering if you can walk me through the because the flow from my side is that I would actually do all the work that I've posted, the tasks that are done, and then after that I would need to invoice, obviously. So can you just quickly walk me through your time management, because it's purely just myself. So do I then go into, let's say, VAT and then VAT archived, and then I go into time and then I capture it from that side? Is that the process, or can you just walk me through the process to get to my invoicing? Sorry.
The whole point is to time as you work so that you know the length of time you spent on the task. So if I'm going to start compiling the VAT recon and VAT returns for this client, I'm going to click on the record and click play. And then it's going to time for me. And then when I'm done, click stop. And then as you've worked throughout the month, whether you've archived the task or not, this report is going to populate to show you the time that you've worked for every single client. The timer is really important to know exactly how much time we've worked on every task for every client. And then in the beginning of the webinar, I spoke about the rates that you charge, setting up your rate groups and everything like that. So you're welcome to, we'll send you the link to the video. And if you've got any questions, you just send an email to support and we'll help you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. How do I get the report for tasks due in Excel format? So any of our reports, if you're viewing the report, you'll see a little floppy disk there. You simply click on the drop down, and if you select Excel, you can access any of them in Excel. But you also do get the tasks due is sent via email once a week as an Excel report already. So we do email you once a week with that report as well.